Good morning, my loves. Happy Tuesday. This is kind of a part two to yesterday's video about seeking therapy. I get a lot of questions. I posted this and I got a lot of DMs. And it's great. If you have a question, DM me, send me a note. That's fine. The question was, why does everybody want to know about my parents? I'm talking about problems for today, not problems 50 years ago. Good question. And it's a very simple answer. So in my practice, I can only speak as to my practice and the basics for everybody else. We need to know, as a therapist, we need to know your foundations. Because from age 0, when you're first born, up to age 10, 12-ish, those are your building block years. Those are the years that you're learning how to cope. You're learning how to deal with confrontation, stress, death, achievements, everything under the sun. And generally, that's a modeled behavior from a parent or an older sibling, could be a grandparent, aunt, uncle, whoever, extended family. That's why we ask. If you grew up in a household where people didn't talk about problems, you're probably going to shove a lot of stuff down and it's going to fester. And blocked emotions can manifest as physical symptoms, as I have said so many times. If you grew up in a family that somebody catastrophized everything. I don't care what it was. It's a huge nightmare. It's a mess. Oh my God. That's catastrophizing. Blowing everything out of proportion. Then as you grow up, that's what you're going to do. Maybe you're not going to say that and be that way, but you're going to be like that internally. So that's why we need to know. Also, if you grew up in an atmosphere of abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, drug abuse, violence, we need to know that. Because again, that goes to your foundations. Maybe that's why you're very non-confrontational, is because you grew up in an abusive household. On the other hand, maybe that's why you have anger management issues, is in your family, the glare is really bad today, really bright day. In your family, instead of talking things through, people resorted to violence. That's why we ask the questions. In my practice, first time we sit and we talk, I'm going to tell somebody right off the bat, I need to ask you a few questions about your childhood. And they're going to they're going to roll their eyes and get pissy and say, look, I don't want to talk about my mom. I don't want to blame my mom and my dad for everything. I'm not asking you to. I just want to know about foundations. That's it. It's maybe 8 to 10 questions. We're done with the topic. We're moving on. But I need to know your coping skills, how you were taught to cope. Very simple. At that point, it's, oh, well, okay. Because I am not into the blame game. Blaming your parents is not going to do you any good today. Blaming things that happened 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, pointing fingers and saying, well, it's their fault, that happened, is in the past. We have to deal with that and move forward. And that's what I'm here to do. Give people the tools to move forward. Very simple. Also, depending on the therapist, not so much now as it was probably like 20, 30 years ago, in my practice, we will continually touch base on the foundations. You're telling me about issues that came up today, and I will say, yeah, but when you were growing up, didn't this and this and this happen? Reminding you it's a learned behavior, which means you can unlearn it, which is wonderful. So, we'll kind of bounce back and forth, but we are addressing the issues that you came in to address. Some of the older therapists, many of them, they will tell you right up front, we're going to spend the first 6 months, 3 months dealing with childhood issues before we work on the things that you came in to talk to me about. While I understand you need to resolve childhood core wounds, during that time, that 3 months time, 6 months time, somebody could lose their job because the issues they came in to talk to you about have not been addressed. So maybe your insurance is going to run out and it only pays for so many sessions and you're not planning to pay for anything out of pocket. Let them know. I'm only here for X amount of time. I want help with my problems, And I don't want to rehash the past. I want to deal with what the problem is. Let them know your parameters. That's only fair. And that way, maybe they're not going to get so hung up on dealing with the childhood core wounds. So just let them know. You have to be honest. If paying is an issue, tell them right up front. Please tell them they can make payment arrangements. Maybe they do sliding scale, but please be honest about it. And if you have to stop therapy for any reason, don't just drop off the face of the earth. Text, send an email. Maybe you don't want to have a conversation about it because you're embarrassed or you're mad. That's fine. Just send a note. Send a postcard. It doesn't matter. Just let them know, I no longer wish to treat with you. That's it. Very simple. But bottom line, honey, you are worth having a safe space. We're all worth having a safe space. So find somebody that you feel comfortable talking to, sharing with, and don't hold back. You don't have to censor yourself with a therapist. You shouldn't have to. My clients talk to me about absolutely everything under the sun, from the most nonsensical stuff that just irritates you sometimes. I mean, it's silly stuff, but it can just drive you up a tree. And we talk about it and we laugh, and that's fine because you need to vent. And then we discuss really heavy topics, death, dying, catastrophic illness, trauma, child when you were molested as a child or beaten as a child, really horrible, deep topics. We talk about that too. But I kind of let you steer the boat. Your therapist will probably be the same way. But be honest with them. Let them know your parameters, what you're seeking, why you're there, how long you plan to be there. Maybe you don't want to be in therapy for 5 years. How many times a week you're available to show up. Maybe, excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups. Maybe you can only get away once a week. Maybe you need to do telemedicine. My clients, I see people all over the world. So everything with me is online, which is great. And I adapt to, the time zones. It's not I know the UK is 8 hours ahead of me and Egypt is 12 and a half hours ahead of me. I'm used to that. So just don't worry. You're worthy of finding somebody you're comfortable working with. Okay? It's up to them to accommodate you, to tell you, these are my hours. This is when you can contact me. This is how you can contact me. But you're worthy of having a safe space. We're all worthy of that. Find somebody to talk to. Best friend, your dog, your cat. They aren't sharing. Well, they might put it on only pause, but you never know. But find somebody that you're comfortable sharing with. You're worthy.